And you are live.
Welcome back to the TPL XGS. Oh, words are hard. XGS, the finale. We're in the mains. He's now in the group stage, more specifically on the final best of 3 of the day. Amalios being joined by Bianca for SPACESHOOBS versus QOR.
Oh my gosh, Ali, I'm excited. I have not been with you in a long time, so this is gonna be the first time we've casted together in a hot minute. I'm excited for tonight, this final BO3 of this beautiful Saturday, the weekend. There's still one more day though, so at the very least, once this day is done, we get one full day of rest. Unless you're working. Oh my God. Sorry about that.
I have work tomorrow morning, so
Aww.
we'll kind of. I'll get to that later, though. At least it is another day that I get paid on the bright side. That being said, though, matters at hand. Gonna take a look at the rosters, starting with QOR, which, if you've been following the T2 scene, you'll recognize these players, but not on this roster, because this is a very revamped version of QOR, with only Inrio carrying over from the previous QOR roster, with Spiff and Rival joining him from the Nightmare roster, Franklin from M80X, and then Focal actually also from Nightmare. So it is a very interesting kind of combination of players, and also that is not the rival you're thinking of. That is in tier 1 now. That is a different rival. So a little bit of naming confusion, but hey, it happens.
Is it ATK rival? Is that who this rival is?
This is GN rival. ATK rivals in Pro League.
Ah! Oh wow! Oh my goodness! I did not know that. Congratulations to him, and congratulations to this team if they end up winning tonight. But speaking of who might be winning tonight, we should take a look at who is going to be playing. Oh, I didn't send a pic. That was so cute.
And
anyways,
coincidentally, Schmink didn't send a pic, but he's also the newest addition to this roster. Scoob has parted ways with SPACESHOOBS, and Schmink is in his place, which is a roster move that I think is quite interesting. Not necessarily negative or positive. I kind of want to see how it plays out in the server before I decide that one way or the other. But definitely interesting to say the least, as this is a squad that's been quite capable, but they haven't truly found that magic combination of players they're looking for to carry that success as far as they would like.
Maybe Schmink is the missing piece to the puzzle to make this team a beautiful success. Unfortunately, we're not going to see his photo, but looking at the roster, Mr. XZ, Schmink, I don't have a pick, Teddy, Toaster, and Volsper. I like this because I'm quite familiar with all of these players on either sides as well. So it seems like there's a lot of potential for this game. Honestly, I haven't kept up to date very much with teams in general, but I hope that this one would be really good, because I know all these players are extremely talented. And so we can take a look at where we're going to be going tonight, which, Ali, is my favorite part of the intro. First is going to be Cafe, which is going to be chosen by SPACESHOOBS. So QOR will be, no, not my fault. It's chosen by SPACESHOOBS. No, not SPACESHOOBS, QOR. So SPACESHOOBS will be defending. And then for the second map, we're going to have Clubhouse, which was chosen by SPACESHOOBS, which QOR will be defending that one. And let's see where we're going to be going for the final game, if it does end up going the full 3 maps, which, oh my gosh, I hope it goes the full 3 maps. That would be exciting, especially with rosters like these. Bank! I love Bank. Oh my gosh. How do you feel about Cafe and Club? I feel like these are such standard, back of the hand type maps.
I certainly do agree there. We're going to be in very familiar territory for really everyone for the first 2 maps, and then Bank is a little bit of a departure, as it does, in my opinion, kind of rely on some of the same things that Cafe and Clubhouse will, but it'll really stress test them. This Bank is very large, it is a map that is very complex and has a lot of layers, and so the coordination, the crossfires, the utility, all those kinds of things that will benefit you very much on things like Cafe and Clubhouse are really going to be put to the max if we get to Bank. Although, that's potentially the future, maybe an alternate timeline if you like multi-dimensionality or have watched Doctor Strange recently. But for now, we're going to be focusing on Cafe, which is a map that has really kind of come into the defaults kind of hand for Siege. It's one that you're pretty safely gonna see if you watch a qualifier stream, or I mean a stream like this that has best of threes, because a lot of teams are very, very comfortable on it.
Absolutely, and I mean, like, the same thing can be said about Clubhouse. A very typical map, but you're absolutely right. Cafe, I feel like Cafe is like one of the big threes. I feel like Chalet, Club, and Cafe are definitely the main three maps that we see a lot getting played. They're very, run of the mill. Everybody knows them strategies wise, and not just offense, but defense as well. So we'll be seeing. No, sorry, my fault. It's time that I messed it up. But anyways, going on to the game now, having these bans, I'm gonna assume it'll probably be a BB or a Poppy. Oh my god, a Capitan! Wow, Ali, is this some tech, some unknown tech that I haven't tapped into yet? Is Capitan a typical ban that they have on this map? Oh my god, shields!
It is a little bit atypical, but I think it does make sense since he just has a ton of potential to block off lines of sight and clear out space as well. So getting rid of him just kind of denies core some utility that I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to bring out. Dokkaebi, getting rid of her is gonna, I mean, like you kind of alluded to, allow for more shield play, but it also allows for a little bit more robust roam since you're harder to track down. Valkyrie, you've seen Valkyrie get banned. There are a million floors on this map. C4s go through them. Valkyrie has that, and cameras with information. But the ban that I think is the most interesting is probably the castle, because he has a very common operator on this map, though not necessarily one that is brought all the time. But getting rid of him does deny a lot of potential for like blocking off windows early on with minimal effort, which means that when core gets on the defense, they're gonna have to be a lot more careful in ways they might not expect.
I'm actually surprised. I feel like the castle would make a lot of sense. I feel like I typically see castle get banned a lot. Not a lot, but I feel like I definitely see castle getting banned a lot more than Capitan. I think seeing Capitan get banned is very interesting. I feel like he's definitely not pivotal, and at least not nearly as much as Castle, but regardless, it's going to be SPACESHOOBS who are going to kind of come out with these funky, atypical, as you said, bans, and we'll be seeing the boys on SPACESHOOBS defending the top floor first for this game.
We're going to have Schmink, it looks like playing in a very aggressive position inside of Piano, with potentially Volsper on a roam. The idea here is that you just kind of need to take Piano for a majority of the takes you're going to see, and then Volsper threatening that roam just kind of threatens a C4, but they're going to send Rival in to potentially catch him. It's going to be an altercation at the bottom of Red Stairs, but it's just going to result in Rival losing some HP as Volsper decides to get the hell out of Dodge, as it looks like we're actually going to see a very unorthodox take come out here.
Well, Rival's going to be the first one to get taken out. And I didn't even realize they're not even going to be defending the top floor. They're actually going to be defending this tertiary type of site, which is very interesting. Regardless, two players are going to be down on the side of core. XGS is going to be DB node, but he might just be able to get picked back up if Mr. Vosper is, brave enough to do so. As for the boys on core, it's a 3v5 now, making it 2v5, as unfortunately Inrio is going to get ran out on, and oh my god, a near flawless round. Focal taking out XZ is going to leave him all by himself. A 1v4 was a 1v5. He's going to have to ace it if he's going to want to win out this first round. Doesn't look like it's going too good. The boys on core will see. SPACESHOOBS really just have to hold this down. Not only that, but Focal does not have a hold of bomb, and I'm sure SPACESHOOBS are not going to make it easy at all for him to be able to grab that, or at least for him to be able to finish this round. Still a lot of time, though, but doesn't look too good for him, that's for sure.
Has been caught in quite the pickle here. He does manage to secure the diffuser, and he has minimal ground inside a Piano that he could use, or Breeding, excuse me, that could try to use to go for a plant. But once he does, SPACESHOOBS are probably going to try to wrap around him and overwhelm him with their numbers.
We'll see now as we're getting into the final minute of the round. Focal does have a hold of the bomb, but doesn't matter. Mr. Schmink to dink him in the head, and that's going to be the first round. A beautiful defensive round coming out for the boys on SPACESHOOBS. Amazing. QOR was, I mean, they kind of got off on a bad foot anyways, having that first kind of 2 players actually getting picked off. So maybe there will be a little bit of a difference this round if QOR is able to kind of keep their player count up for a little bit longer duration during the round.
Yeah, they did kind of let Shoobs overwhelm them, and that's something Shoobs are very good at, is just playing in ways that are unorthodox and really catching people off guard if they're not prepared for it, and QOR absolutely were not prepared for it. And it kind of creates this feedback loop where as Shoobs gain more ground in the man advantage, they get more brazen with how aggressive they are, and if the team that's going up against that is not good at punishing that brazenness, then they just lose more bodies, which then causes Shoobs to get more brazen, and it's this cycle that feeds into itself. And QOR really felt the tailwind of that in that previous round. And like you said, they need to keep that man count up, but in addition to that, really make sure that you are expecting that Shoobs aggression, and that you're prepared to punish it when they throw it at you.
This is interesting, having that early hatch open, trying to maybe get a cheeky little C4 kill. That would be that would be a little bit sad if somebody on QOR ends up getting taken, especially early by a C4 like that. Franklin gonna be the first one to get on that rappel. Hopefully, he doesn't end up getting caught in a horrible situation with this C4. Are they aware that this hatch is open? Unfortunately, even if they are, it will not matter. Mr. Jingling, he's gonna just get off of it. He's not gonna bother with that C4 pick anymore. Too far into the round now, 40 seconds, and well, already the Bloods on QOR are starting to make their way through. Seems like the roof is the main point of entry, having that liquid top down, which makes a lot of sense. See, there might be a lone straggler somewhere, maybe not going on the roof and maybe trying to push by themselves, but regardless, boys on QOR are very aware that Volsper is going to be roaming about. We'll see how far he's going to roam. He might, you know, something a little bit ballsy, but as for right now, it seems like everybody is up on this 3rd floor. It doesn't seem like it's roam heavy at all apart from Volsper.
I mean, his purpose is, I mean, just like to do what he was doing, just threaten to potentially try to pull something off, threaten the existence of a C4, threaten the possibility of a flank, so that QOR are constantly trying to watch their backs, which eases up some pressure that the rest of the squad might be facing. Though there is a Blackbeard in the building from QOR now, along with that gridlock, so they are trying to take some space within the map. But you can see they're very wary of the potential for Shoobs to try to get aggressive or throw more things at them.
Regardless, it seems like QOR's amazing at making space right now. They've basically taken over CS, but a 4v4 will quickly turn to a 4v3. Spiff is going to be able to get his 2nd pick, and 2 players on SPACESHOOBS, as you said, are going to be taken down. Focal also taking a little bit of damage, but it seems like they basically made their way into sight, and that is exactly what they've done. Franklin starting to get that bomb down. Volsper in a bad situation. And as that bomb is starting to get planted, it's going to be a post-plant situation. 40 seconds, Franklin's going to get taken down. A beautiful shot from Volsper. Another one, unfortunately, it's going to miss. And it's going to be, unfortunately, Mr. Schmink left in a 1v3 this round. Went a lot better for the boys on QOR. And that BB is going to be a big problem, but not as big of a problem as that gridlock. That final pick is going to secure the 2nd round win for QOR, as the score is now 1-1.
Much better job that round from QOR of kind of realizing the pace that Shoobs wanted to set, and they didn't fall into the trap like they did previously. There was a very deliberate effort to anticipate and then not just react to, but prevent the aggression that Shoobs threw at them in the previous round that really ended this streak. Because we saw a lot of things like pre-broken window barricades that QOR, or that Shoobs, excuse me, really wanted to use to yet again be aggressive like they were previously. But there are a lot more operators like the Lion and the Gridlock that are designed to prevent Shoobs from moving around in ways that they want to. So there are much more advantageous fights for QOR, and then even if Shoobs do move through those things, Core is alerted to that fact, so they're able to prepare.
I've seen this, right? But we're not even going kitchen. This is not in SPACESHOOBS handbook at all. We're gonna be going not the tertiary site, the quaternary site. Train and dining. Oh my goodness. You don't get to see this that often, I must say. Cafe, one of those maps that you might see the, every single bomb site on rotation through a game, but I'm surprised that SPACESHOOBS opts to go to this quaternary site instead of kitchen. Is kitchen is it not the wave anymore, Ali? Is this more typical that teams are starting to go the second floor, or is this kind of maybe just a SSHOOBS special, triple S? You like that?
But it really is just like up to the teams, to be honest. Like in tier 2 it's more common, which so it kind of makes sense that we're seeing it here since these are two tier 2 rosters. Although in some lower T3, T4 stuff, it's a little bit less common to see. Though speaking of seeing, Franklin isn't seeing much of this round. This he's been taken out early, so Shoobs are setting a little bit more of that pace they've become accustomed to. Volsper is still trying to remain active over towards that painting position, so he can try to punish any lackluster information which might be possessed by Core.
It's gonna be unfortunate that Core is gonna, and again another round start off on a little bit of a underhand, as like you said, Franklin is going to be taken out, and SPACESHOOBS, I mean, I feel like they don't really do anything like crazy. I mean, this round they're on that second floor, but you said it's a lot more common these days, so I guess they're not really doing anything too crazy that would, render Core to kind of be at a crazy disadvantage. But regardless, Vogel's going to take out Mr. XZ, and so now he's not going to be seen too much other than on the camps. Regardless, like I said, SPACESHOOBS, they don't seem to be like doing crazy strategies, and yet they're still being able to get these early picks, these early advantages. Mind you, it's a 4v4 now, but that they're very good at getting these early round picks. Anyways, now just under a minute remaining in the round, Core's gonna have to really start making their way through. They got to start executing.
45 seconds left. Blackbeard on white stairs, along with one of his compatriots. Need to get in here and dislodge this position that Toaster has taken, but shot in the back. It's going to nullify the impact Blackbeard might have had. Going to cause the rest of the team to slow down quite a bit as well, as they need to catch up in man count. Spiff does just that. So one of his teammates tries to battle back the player inside of dining, but the utility and crossfires that SPACESHOOBS have brought out are making things competitive, while the Core are still keeping it even.
Just 10 seconds and a 2v2. It's a man for a man, but there we go. Toaster is going to take down Mr. Rival. He's actually going to get, I believe, a 4-piece that round. Amazing job holding down this fort, and a valiant effort from the boys on Core. It was decently close, going 5v4, 4v4, 3v4, 3v3, 3v2, 2v2, and unfortunately Toaster will be the one to close out that round. SPACESHOOBS closing it in and securing themselves their second win. Now on to round 4. We're going to be going back to that dining and reading.
I really like the pace switch up from SPACESHOOBS that we saw that last round. They were still very aggressive in the way they wanted to do things and operate, but they did it in a way that was as much less rambunctious, is the way to put it. They're not trying to jump out of windows every round. They're not trying to do crazy things just to get a one-off pick, because they know that Core is immune to that by this point. So they're not just going to feed them picks like they did inside of round 2. So the aggression is a lot more sensible, and we're seeing people, aside from Xsiege and Piano that last round, willing to fall off a lot sooner to preserve their lives for when the execute happens.
I'm wondering what just happened here. We'll see. It seemed like 2 players ended up leaving on the side of Core. Maybe their game had disconnected. It does say that as a tech pause, so I guess we're going to be waiting for them to all get back into the lobby and reboot their computers. But we're going to be sending you guys to a short little break while the boys get prepped up for this round 4. But don't go anywhere for too long. We will be right back in a short amount of time, so hopefully by the time y'all are back using the washroom, getting a drink, we'll be ready to go for round 4. Woo! What are all men saying? We are back after that short technical pause for round 4. You guys missed the first 3 rounds. You can look at the score. I didn't mean to rhyme there, but it's all good. 4 is gonna have 1 round under their belt in SPACESHOOBS, having 2. Doing that little rotation, we're back onto the tertiary sites. It's going to be dining and reading. Last time we saw SPACESHOOBS and they did a great job. Or was it was a little bit rough for them. Hopefully this round they won't die out so fast early off. They'll be able to make their way into the building with a little bit more security, a little bit, or a couple more players to actually face with.
Yeah, I was commenting right before the technical pause on the fact that, I mean, both teams have kind of been, like, adapting to the pace that the other's been setting. And last round, Shoobs had done a good job of still keeping up the aggression they thrive in, but not taking that too far. And this round, if the Blitz and Ying combination is an indication of what I think it is, then this time we're going to see the tomfoolery come from the end of QOR. As those two operators, especially in combination with the Lion, is such a potent combination for raw speed.
Ooh, that raw speed. Focal! We already mentioned how there's a lot of shields on the board. It seems like he's going to be making his way in with Blitz. I guess they realize that there's a little bit of a gap in the sights. He's going to start to plant this bomb. And oh, unfortunately, the walls of QOR are already starting to get taken down and dismantled, but it doesn't matter. Bomb is going to be planted, and that is quite a quick round. A 3v4 will turn to a 3. Well, technically it's a 3v4. Now it's really a 3v3 as Jingy is going to be DBNO'd. And damn, Focal really putting in that work, giving him them shots. A 2v3 now, unfortunately, SPACESHOOBS are going to be at that man disadvantage. Jingy seems like he's not going to be able to get res, and now it's B2. Still, post-plant situation, 20 seconds, by the way. 7 seconds to defuse a bomb. This might be a little bit of an issue, but it seems like the defusal is already starting to go down, and no way! I can't believe that! He's got enough time to get the bomb off! Are you kidding me? Oh my god, and almost clear for QOR, but SPACESHOOBS just about get it off. An amazing try, but SPACESHOOBS, oh my gosh, they are yet to be shaken by what QOR is giving them. That seems like a 1 in a a type of round that you don't execute all the time. That's like a trump card type of round. Core going in aggro, getting that ghost plant off, but unfortunately, it will all be in vain. They lose that round.
It was great early pace setting to just throw a complete wrench into things. Up until that point, they played fairly standard with the way they'd been doing everything, and so that's kind of like we've set the expectation. Now let's just throw stuff at them and see what happens. But in doing that, a lot of them were caught out of position, which allowed SPACESHOOBS to keep things competitive, because even though that plant was down, we were in a 3 versus 5 in favor of SPACESHOOBS by the time the plant was down. And Blitz as well. He's a very scary operator, but all shields become exponentially less powerful the less bodies there are standing around them. And so because Core had thrown away so many bodies by that point, the Blitz just wasn't the big scary shield anymore, and it gave Shoobs just enough room to get in and get the frags they need.
Holding that big window and then ended up getting that kill was probably a main factor on how SPACESHOOBS were able to kind of come back from that too, because having that little window hold was great. Unfortunately, ended up getting taken out. I believe it was the Zofia. If it was a Zofia on that window, I can't completely remember, but regardless, that's unfortunate. A great try, and I did like that pacing. It was fast and it was exciting. Unfortunately, well, it won't work out, and so we'll see how Core are going to be able to stabilize themselves, as they are going to be down to 2 rounds, almost a spawn peak. Volsper, unfortunately, is not going to be able to get anything, and that C4 is done and dusted now. Nobody's going to be getting a C4 with that, but at the very least, for Core Gaming, it's good. 1 C4 down, not too shabby. Not just 1 C4 down, but not the player out of the field as well. Volsper be the first one to take a hit and take the hike. He's down for the rest of the round, and Core Gaming have secured themselves that man advantage. We'll see how long it lasts.
Flew a little bit too close to the sun, and now his wings are melted. He's just gonna have his hands left to watch those cameras for the remainder of this round. As we see Core now shift their focus towards dislodging that position inside of the bathroom, so they can yet again gain the control they need to get the diffuser down, and then punish that early mistake that Shoobs have made. Because now we're going to see the Blackbeard move in very, very fast to start that process off.
Pacing going a little bit crazy, just over a minute remaining, and unfortunately, kills are going to be coming out from either side. Still, the boys on Core are going to have that man advantage, and making a 2-man advantage. Inrio's going to pick up a second kill for himself. Jiggy and Toaster left in a 3v2 now, as it seems like Toaster is going to help out his teammate just a little bit, despite being so low HP. And, well, now his teammate's gone. It's going to be up to Toaster in a 1v3 with very low HP. Isn't going to last too long. Unfortunately, Franklin will be the one to deal that definitive blow. And Core, a lot stronger this round. I think that this might actually, I think the first pick, what's it called? The first pick to round, what is it called? They got usually is the team that gets the first pick. It seems like every single round, I believe that they've won it, as far as I can remember.
That would not surprise me. The conversion rate on that's been pretty high thus far, regardless.
Okay, yeah. The first pick to conversion rate. Round conversion, my bad.
I do think their Shoobs tried to stick to their guns a little bit too hard, because the guns were actively melting in their hands, and they're still trying to use them for firefights. You lose Volsper early on, because he's trying to get very, very aggressive over towards those piano windows. And then there are the positions inside of, like, bathroom, as an example, that they tried to hold very aggressively. And sometimes you do need to concede a little bit of ground, especially against a team like Core, that is absolutely going to be good at just taking whatever picks you throw at them. And there's a Blackbeard staring at you as well, which, if nothing else, can feed information to his team while also threatening to shoot you in the face with his own assault rifle.
He's definitely a scary one, I will not lie. I don't know how to counter a BB. I'm not going to hold you. I ban him every time. I'm very scared of shields. I panic. I tend to panic a lot, so I got to give kudos to these players that, know how to counter a shield when it matters most. Regardless, no shields are going to be coming out for the final attacking round. If it doesn't go OT, the final attacking round for QOR, no shields this time around. We're going to be seeing them really utilize the operators that they've picked, using their abilities to the best of their advantage. SPACESHOOBS, at the very least, have secured those 3 defensive rounds. QOR still has a chance to leave split at 3-3. That's amazing, especially because this is their map pick, and typically the defensive side will always be stronger than the offense. But, you know, having that chance to bring it 3-3 would be great. But fortunately, Toaster is going to be the one to shatter the dreams of Rival, as he's going to pick him off, and that's going to be one player gone with just about a minute into the round already. So we'll see. Seems like first pick to round conversion, as what it's called, seems to be holding up, at least from what I can remember for these past rounds. We'll see if the 6th round will also be the case. But Focal taking out Mr. XG. He is Capcan, though. At the very least, even though he's dead, his gun can't do too much. Well, his Capcan traps might do a little bit of damage and even find himself a pick, even in the afterlife.
It's kind of a constant threat that they just have to keep in mind now, that your ankles could just kind of dematerialize if you walk in the wrong doorway. Well, some great information has been gathered by the Twitch, but Schmink with the vertical kill. That also downs the diffuser, so that needs to be secured by QOR. And it preserves that man advantage that they got early in the round, and we're going into the final minute here. So this really is when that final push needs to be made, and they're lacking some utility to do that, just given what Franklin had in his pocket.
Not only that, but they're lacking that diffuser. With such little time, it's going to be a little bit hard to make decisions, especially when one of your options for finishing out this round is kind of out of the picture right now, unless you do end up grabbing that diffuser back. SPACESHOOBS in a really good position right now. It doesn't seem like they're going to be overextending. They're going to be holding their positions quite nicely, and they're not going to be getting over-aggressive. They're going to hold and do exactly what they need to do to win out this round. Focal, though, he's going to find himself a second pick. It's going to be on to Toaster, a 3v3. No diffuser in hand still, but anything can change. There we go, as I say it, so it happens. In real, we the one to pick up that bomb. And now, as we get to the final 10 seconds of the round, the C4 might prove deadly. Fortunately, it's not going to take out anybody. Instead, Spit is going to be the one to pick up a kill, and it's a 2v2 situation. Now, Focal will start trying to get that plant down, but it's not going to work. Phosphor will find himself one, and the defenders, with no time remaining on the board, are going to win out the round. Unfortunately, QOR timer runs out, and that's it. So, leaving split 2-4 in favor of the boys on SPACESHOOBS, not too shabby. We'll see if QOR are going to have a stronger defense. Their offense, not too shabby, but could use a little bit of work.
Certainly is a little rough around the edges, although it's like their, I think, third map is like third official map as a team, so given that SPACESHOOBS has been together a little bit longer, I would expect there to be a few fewer cracks. Although, I do want to highlight that yet again, I think that SPACESHOOBS are being fairly intelligent with how they try to position themselves to be aggressive, and we're not seeing them make mistakes really more than once, because they've known that that opening kill is incredibly crucial in this game so far, and they've won 4 rounds and they've gotten opening picks in all of them, I believe, and it especially helped on that round with the Blitz Rush. So Shoobs they were playing aggressive enough to get that early kill, so they could get themselves that advantage, but then they weren't overstaying their welcome after they did get it.
I'm surprised again. The tertiary side gets picked. I feel like I'm just out of the loop a little bit too much, because I'm very surprised. I'm actually happily surprised, though. I feel like a map like Cafe gets played quite a lot. Like we said, it's one of those standard maps. Like I said, Club, Cafe, Chalet. Definitely the top big 3, the big dogs. And I'm glad to see a little bit of change. Not only that, speaking of change, Maestro, you don't get to see him too often since his little nerf. I feel like I used to see him a lot, especially on a map like Cafe, Bank. But they nerfed him with being able to punch his little evil eyes, and Big Ray kind of took a plummet, but regardless, I'm happy to see that still get some classic operators being played. He's gonna be chilling on by these white stairs. We'll see this big, masculine Italian man able to do a little bit of damage to the boys on SPACESHOOBS. This is, of course, first defensive round. We'll see how it pans out, as we've already approached a minute into the round. Or, yes, a minute into the round.
That opening pick once again goes the way of QOR. Mini execute on, or of SPACESHOOBS. Says a mini execute on that top floor. Now Rival stuck inside of Freezer. That could be a massive opportunity to isolate a pick. But Spiff's gonna get one of his own. That's the Blackbeard that he kills, actually, which is a huge blow to this attack. That allows Rival to almost get out, but not quite. The SPACESHOOBS have once again gained that man advantage. And that's gonna prompt the rest of QOR to vacate that top floor and reconvene around the site.
Yeah, it's not like they have much of a choice. Now being down a player, they're going to have to make sure that they can definitely secure this site. And XGS is also on that Monty. We didn't see a crazy amount of Monty play from QOR despite that operator being available, but SPACESHOOBS will be utilizing him, that's for sure. Now, just about him remaining into the round, and I'm sure the execute is going to start to happen. I like the pace that SPACESHOOBS takes. They're not taking too long, but they're also not completely going too fast into things as well. They've taken this at a great pace, and it seems like though the fortress that's being guarded by QOR is not going to be an easy one to slip through. But it seems like XGS has already dropped off of that pillar balk, that heaven balk, and we'll see him starting to make his way in through side, especially with his Candela.
Try to use that Ying to dislocate a couple players, but it doesn't go quite as swimmingly as they would like. Plant is going down now. Flank is coming out from Spiff as well. But look at this angle that they get on the Monty. It doesn't even work. The plant still goes down. Now the defense has 40 seconds left to win this 2 versus 2. Now 1 versus 2. Trying to get this plant off the board. It's going to be Franklin left in that position. The attackers have the advantage of that vertical play. That's a hell of a gunfight to try to win if you are Franklin. You're going to try to go upstairs instead. Try to fight these 2 players on their own turf. It's going to make a lot of noise. Being a 3 armors, gun and shots are going to make more noise. There's a player just lurking, waiting for him to walk into their grasp. It's Schmink. As he opens his jaws wide, catches that last defender. And that puts SPACESHOOBS up 5-2.
Woo! Amazing work from SPACESHOOBS. A great plan. I mean, to be honest, that Monty getting out by the skin of his teeth, just almost dying with that bomb in hand. That round would have completely been a turnover had they ended up getting that kill on that Monty, especially right before he was able to plant that bomb. Unfortunately, was just 1 bullet short. And 1 bullet short, they're now 1 round short. As SPACESHOOBS said had secured themselves that their 5th round win. And now we're going to the kitchen, which we haven't seen in this entire game. 8 rounds, and we're finally going to be seeing the kitchen. Let's see how real men defend their kitchen.
See how they do it indeed. Good to see that Echo brought out, which I think is a very interesting pick. It's one that I like on this side, although I've also seen a lot of teams get tunnel vision trying to focus on utilizing that Echo. So I hope that is a trap that QOR do not fall into. And the reverse of that, we're gonna see Raura brought out by SPACESHOOBS, who's becoming a kind of a staple of attacking this specific site, even with how little time she's had in the game, because she's able to block off lines of sight very effectively as Focal blocks off Schmink from having any impact, and that's the entirety of SPACESHOOBS hard breaching gone as the opener.
That's unfortunate, and like we've seen, the first pick to round conversion I think has basically been 100%. So we'll see. Franklin finding himself a second one. That was a little bit nasty, and so QOR putting themselves in a great position, not just a 2-man advantage, but a 3-man advantage. Seems like XGS is going to be the one to try and have the big balls. He's going to be able to take out Inrio. Still a 2-man advantage for the boys on board. This Monty fighting for his life. Fifth is going to put him in a pack, and it's going to be up to Mr. Pulsper, who was unfortunately all by himself. And, well, it's not going to take long for Focal to shred through him with that MPX. The P shooter would do its due diligence, and QOR, the most decisive round, I think, this entire game. Amazing defense from them. It's the kitchen. This is how a man defends his kitchen. They did it great. They're holding it down as they should, because SPACESHOOBS is 1 round away from that that match point. Luckily, Core still have a little bit of room, so a little bit of wiggle room for them to be able to lose the round and still possibly bring it to OT. But I think the last thing that they want to do is put themselves in a position where they have to win the next 3 rounds flawlessly. So we'll see who are going to start to lock in, or if SPACESHOOBS are ready to take home this map.
I mean, I think they're like that pick onto the ace really did kind of seal the deal before anything else really happened, because you kind of have the open walls, and that's why we saw Shoobs just try to be very aggressive and gunfight heavy in that round. Is that they kind of knew that they didn't have that hard breacher that they were going to rely on, so instead they just try to go in, see if they can catch a couple people off guard, bring that man count back in their favor, but that just ends up playing right into the hands of Core, who have the superior positioning in that instance, which has inched them closer to tying this game back up, although it hasn't quite tied the game back up. It's now going into round number 9. See how this plays out for Core.
Also, talk about this double shield. We got a BB and a Monty. SPACESHOOBS absolutely utilizing 2 operators, and they're both going to be shields. They said, well, the shields are on the board, then we're going to be using them. That's exactly what they're going to be doing. This hopefully won't be too much for Core to handle, but I will say having 1 shield is already enough for me. Having 2? Oh my goodness gracious, these boys better be careful. Anyways, just a minute now into the round, and nobody has really taken any damage, and not many confrontations. However, the windows are going to start to be attacked, and it seems like people are kind of making their way onto the roof, looking for a little bit of the drop, possibly into red. The first one to drop is going to be actually 2 players. It's going to be Volsper and Jingy, and damn, 4! A 4-man advantage. This might just be a flawless. What just happened to SPACESHOOB? Nothing happened in the first minute, and then as I say that, it's just bullets flying and heads are being taken off. Schmeek will at the very least find himself 1 pick, so that it's not a complete flawless, but oh my god, look at how close that is! Oh my goodness, he just about misses him. Unfortunate, and Inrio is actually quite low. You can sneeze on him, he'll get down, but regardless, Schmeek not really in the best position at all. At the very least, SPACESHOOBS have the luxury of losing these next rounds, but I'm sure they don't want it to get any closer than it already is.
Good to see a player just kind of sitting on those white stairs, anticipating the potential walk-up that Schmeek might try to go for. You can track any of these players that he might want to, which does give him a little bit of advantage in information. But that's only 1 body that he can track at a time, and that's also going to reveal his location. So it looks like Shoobs are just going to kind of take this as a little bit of a unofficial tactical timeout. They can't talk to their coach, but they can just kind of discuss amongst themselves what they think needs to change.
Absolutely. I mean, these last 2 rounds have been a little bit rocky for them. Maybe the offense just isn't nearly as good as their defense, which, I mean, that's typical, though. A lot of times the defense is always a little bit stronger. Then again, this is Core's map pick. So, it would be safe to say that they would be decently better at playing at the SPACESHOOBS, but then again, this is Cafe. Cafe is a map that everybody knows regardless, so I would assume that even if you do pick this map, you should kind of be aware that there could be a possibility that your opponents are going to play this map exactly the same as you're playing, and even possibly better, unless you have something, innovative and new to bring to the table that nobody has really seen before. But anyways, that's going to be a round win under the belt of Core. 1 round away from actually tying it out. 2 unanswered rounds from SPACESHOOBS, which that last round was definitely not too good for them. Even with those 2 shields, it just seems like their walls were completely dismantled. Hopefully this round will be a little bit better for them.
Yeah, they try to go for another midi execute on that top floor setup so they can, much like what we saw them do in the first attacking round they had, just isolate a couple players on the top floor, get the man advantage, then carry that over into the execute. But Core was aware that might be part of the game plan this time. And so we see that position that Shoobs need to take, so they have the vertical control over reading, is much more fortified than it was previously. So Shoobs aren't able to just waltz in, kill a man, then cause disarray. They jump in, and they are now inside of the jaws of the lion. And lions tend to have pretty sharp teeth, and so does QOR.
We'll see how this round's gonna pan out for either team. I think it's the first time we're seeing a pulse. I like that. Little bit cheeky. And already, somebody trying to get a little bit jiggy with it. Unfortunately, I'm not even really sure what that was, but anyways. Interesting. Regardless, nobody's gonna get taken out. No damage is gonna be taken either. So, you know, maybe he just wanted a little bit of fresh air. The weather's been amazing, at least here in Toronto, despite a little bit of rain, but I'm not sure where everybody else is at, but the weather's been beautiful, so hey, maybe Mira, maybe Spiff wants a little bit of nice fresh air. Regardless, everybody looks like they're going to be on the rooftop, except for Mr. Jingly, who's going to be all by himself, but other than that, everybody else is going to be chilling on this roof. We'll see how this execute is going to go down. Maybe they're going to drop in red or heaven. We'll see how it continues, as we've just made about a minute's worth of progress into the round, and the first one to drop is going to be Mr. Exige.
Gonna walk right in with that mobile wall that is the Monty, and he's gonna give a little bit of information to his team. His spaceship has been much slower this round than they have previously, which I think again is an attempt to just switch up that pace that QOR are expecting. Rival's going to be the first target they have to contend with here, though it looks like there isn't a ton of concrete utility being thrown at him just yet to dislodge him. Although he is going to fall back regardless, which is going to leave Spiff up there alone until he too falls back, which will give the top floor over towards Shoobs, but there's still a pulse on the board which they need to watch out for.
Not only that, but I mean, that was really good use of time wasting. That's basically 2 minutes of time waste under the belt for QOR. That was great, having that top floor hold, and they held it quite nicely. Of course, they don't want to, you know, hold it for too long and then end up giving up their lives for it. So, you know, it's a good trade-off. 2 minutes worth of the round for that top floor. I would say it's a pretty good exchange, and now SPACESHOOBS are going to be starting to make their way in through not just the top floor, but opening up the hatches to perhaps make their way onto the second floor, still being held by the boys on QOR. Everybody on that second floor except for Mr. Spiff. We're both going to be on that bottom main floor. We'll see 30 seconds remaining in the round how this execute is going to have to start coming out, because, well, I mean, they have the diffuser in hand, but it seems like they got this, QOR has this site down on lock. 50 seconds now, and executes are going to be starting to be made, and a lot of pressure coming through. We'll see the Monty make his way. Is he aware that Inrio is just thrown behind this bomb? Well, 4v3 now, and a 3v3 as QOR is going to unfortunately fall 2 players to Volsberg. And that's the round.
It was really well done defense from QOR. They played that top floor to waste a good bit of time, but then give it up. And then by the time that SPACESHOOBS are actually like poking at the site directly, Lesions had all round to throw his goo mines on the floor. The smoke canisters are extraordinarily powerful in that last minute. And then you have the Pulse and the Mira both playing below with those C4s. So SPACESHOOBS doesn't have time to deal with that extra step of dislodging those two. So they have to plant in either a suboptimal location to avoid the C4, or in a better location that can be more easily defended, knowing they're going to get blown sky high. And it just creates a, honestly, kind of jigsaw-esque situation that SPACESHOOBS are put into, where there's no real good way out of it. And, I mean, you saw how that round just played out. It was played phenomenally from QOR.
Basically, it's all about that time waste, because the more time gets wasted, the less that the offense is going to be able to work with. You're not going to be able to drone out everything. You're kind of going to be making decisions off of a whim, because unfortunately time is against you. You know, the more time in the round, it's more on the offensive side. But as time starts to dwindle, it starts to be a little bit of a nuisance for the the offense, and it ends up kind of being that sixth man, because now not only are you having to go against 5 players, but now you also have to go against time. You're gonna have to make, you know, decisions that you wouldn't typically make with a little bit more time on your hands. Regardless, that was last round. We're now in round 11, and SPACESHOOBS, 3 unanswered rounds. Unfortunately, QOR winning those 3 leaves SPACESHOOBS at a little bit of not really that good of a position, considering that it was 5-2 at one point. So we'll see as their core, their defense is a beautiful tank. It's a structure, it's a fortress, and so hopefully we'll continue to see this amazing play coming out. Spiff to take down XGS and Fosper as well. My goodness gracious, let this man cook. And so a 5v3 early on. Only a minute into the round, and we might just see a third man get taken out if he's not careful. My God, Schmink nearly getting taken out by a C4. Won't be enough, but he's low enough. HP to just sneeze on him. Focal will find Toaster, and SPACESHOOBS down 3 men. Make it 4. My goodness. Can't even make their way onto the floor of the bomb site. QOR, beautiful off-site pressure that holding, especially from Mr. Spiff. 11 and 2. That's a flawless and a 4-piece for this man. Give him an award. My gosh. But in all the, I love his name because it kind of reminds me of a spliff, but it's not spliff. But every time he gets somebody, I fight the urge to say he just put that man in a spliff, rolled him up, and smoked him. That is a very much needed timeout, because that's 4 rounds unanswered. SPACESHOOBS, what are we doing?
I mean, it was just like a really lackluster clear of that top floor. They let, first they let Spiff like slip through the cracks and get those 2 picks, but then the recourse for that they try to take is just done so haphazardly, which just lets, obviously Spiff get more kills, but it also puts the rest of the team in bad positions that let another player from QOR get a kill as well to help Spiff, as they try to go indirectly through that second floor area, which is fine, but you need to be very thorough when you try to do that. You need to have multiple parts working at once so that Spiff doesn't have the freedom of movement that he does in that round.
I mean, you gotta hand it to this man. They can't even kill him from the back. Are you kidding me? Trying to shoot bullets when he can't even see him. He 180s and just pops him like that. I did not know Spiff was, I did not know he was out like that. My bad. My absolute bad. 12 and 2. Let him get on the grill. Beautiful. Like I said, weather's great. This man's cooking up beautiful burgers. Let him keep going. He's making SPACESHOOBS look like a bunch of burgers. Because that round was amazing.
So fun facts.
Tell me
actually,
about this fun fact.
During his professional debut, which was the 2023 Six Invitational, he placed, he was on the 4th best team in the world.
Oh, really? What was that scene?
He was on the Israelis roster with Forest, Iconic, and Fallout.
Okay, I only know Iconic, but yeah. Is it Forest with 2 R's? I think I might know.
Yes.
Okay, I know him.
The Forest that is currently on Oxygen Esports.
Ah. I'm not well versed, I'm so sorry. But wait, did this have to do with burgers?
No, that's where Spiff came
from.
That was his professional debut. Was top 4 at SI.
Oh my goodness! So he's got that under his belt though. He knows exactly what he's doing. Keep him on mute, honestly. Anything mute, smoke, something like that with the SMG11 and the shotgun. Yeah, keep him on that. That's for sure. Unfortunately, he's not going to be on that. He's going to be on the Azami instead. Vocal, looking for a little bit of that spotlight. Maybe he's going to try and get a little bit jiggy with it. Regardless, 2 shields yet again. Fosper and XGS sticking to their shield, as we're not going to see just the PP, but the Monty as well. See how this round pans out, as we've already made a minute into it. There is still a little bit of that top hold as well. We saw last time QOR amazing at that offsite hold. Wasted a lot of time, making it super hard for Shoops to make their way through. Regardless, Toaster will find the first pick. It's going to be on to Mr. Focal.
So far, overwhelmingly, the team that's gotten that opening kill has won the round, and It's a pretty good sign for SPACESHOOBS so far. They managed to clear out that top floor without losing a body so far, which is a massive improvement over what we've seen from them previously in this half. Although now there is still the extra step of taking the space on the first floor that you need to get into the bomb site and get that diffuser down. And we see a lot of spread out positioning from QOR to try to make this difficult. The Azami is up as well, just inside of Red Hall, which is very uncomfortable for SPACESHOOBS to deal with. There's also Rival, who's currently threatening a flank, which could also pan out extraordinarily poorly if XGS doesn't realize that he gets 2 for his trouble. Rival, he is refragged eventually, but it might not even matter anymore.
My gosh, we've just approached 40 seconds remaining in the round. Not only that, but SPACESHOOBS do not have the diffuser in hand. The Monty was the one to die with it. That's going to be unfortunate. This might be the first round where the first pick doesn't equate to that round win. SPACESHOOBS on that man deficit, no bomb, 25 seconds remaining in the round. They're not going to have a lot of time. They're not going to be able to check their corners. They're going to have to just make their way in, and they're going to have to make their way in fast, and almost a wall bang. That's going to be unfortunate. Inrio, by the way, extremely low. 10 seconds now. Toaster on white stairs. These boys are not with each other at all, and there, speaking of Toaster, it's going to get taken out. Spiff, Brennan Soappiece to finish it out. Can you believe it? That is 6 straight rounds. 6 straight rounds for the boys on QOR. What a way to turn it back around. This is their map pick, but goodness gracious, golly gee. Amazing job to QOR for keeping it sturdy, for keeping the fortress intact and defended well. Amazing job from both of the teams, but I gotta say, QOR coming in to flip the script. Mind you, it was 5-2 in favor of SPACESHOOBS. 6 unanswered rounds. What are we doing? As for QOR, I mean, y'all deserved it. And I mean, Spiff doing amazing. What a great way to close out map 1.
They used to say that Spiff don't whiff, and I would certainly hazard that he has not really been whiffing so far this map. That was like 14 to 16 kills, somewhere in that range. I didn't quite see after the rehost that took place in the first, after the first 3 rounds. So there is, I mean, that's obviously a problem for our stats people to solve. Not my problem. I just show up here to yell words. But that is a ton of impact from just one guy in 5 straight unanswered rounds to go from that 2 to that 7 that you need. It's incredible from QOR.
Amazing. I mean, it is their map pick, but that doesn't make it any less impressive. Amazing job to the boys on QOR for closing out map 1, even being down that many rounds. Well, after this little short break, we will be on to map 2, which is going to be Clubhouse, which will be SPACESHOOBS map pick. So maybe we'll be seeing them take it home and then bringing us to a map 3, which would possibly be Bank if we get there. But we're not there just yet. We're not even on map 2 yet. For now, go use the washroom, get yourself a drink, maybe a little snack, and we'll be right back in about 5 to 10-ish minutes for map 2.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you have an appropriate snack for the series that is underway thus far, which, if you're wondering what that is, that's for me to know and you to find out. We're going to go into map 2 here in just a second after we talk for a little bit, look over the replays from that amazing map 1 of SPACESHOOBS versus QOR.
Look at these nasty picks coming out. Some of the best kills from map 1. You guys missed a good one if y'all were not here to see it. SPACESHOOBS were up 5-2 and QOR close it out with 5 straight rounds. I was saying 6 last time. My bad, guys. My math is, well, it's not that good. But anyways, 5 straight rounds for QOR to secure themselves map 1. SPACESHOOBS now do not have the luxury of losing this out. This is their map pick, so it would also be a little bit sad if they do lose their map pick, but it's going to be Club, which is going to be the second map that we're going to be going to. Of course, with that map pick, QOR can decide what side they're going to be on, and QOR's decided to be on defense for this map. No surprise, no brainer there, of course. And not only that, it's Clubhouse. Clubhouse, a very typical map. It's basically become the new Oregon. Clubhouse is now the new Oregon, now that, you know, Oregon is no longer in the map pool. So we'll be seeing a lot of regular, basic type of strategies, unless, you know, either of these teams kind of come out with something super innovative and, you know, new and different, then seems like we're just going to be going back to the regular old show, same stuff going on Club.
I do really want to see how Shoobs do attack on this map. Last map was really weird because, like, it started off with a really good round, and then it was just kind of like a progressive decline from that point. Honestly, even more of a fall off a cliff sometimes. And then there were, like, signs of life from Shoobs, but strategically on that second half, QOR really was running laps around SPACESHOOBS in a lot of ways. They were just very good at manipulating the time, manipulating the man count, everything into their favor. So SPACESHOOBS were always playing catch up.
We'll see in the map, not the map bans, the operator bans coming out. Capitan is going to be the same one to get banned, which last map we also did see the Capitan ban, except SPACESHOOBS was the ones to ban him. So we'll be seeing that also getting banned this map as well. Very interesting. Seeing the third mate in the 2 banana though makes a lot of sense. I think maybe another defender, maybe an Azami, unless a Kaid. I was gonna say, unless maybe QOR decide to use her to their advantage, but the Kaid makes a lot of sense as well. I would say, like, you know, Mira, Val, Kaid, Azami bans, very typical. They're good on every single map, so it really just depends on who you have factored into your defensive strategy. And seems like the Azami is going to be factored into the defensive lineup for the boys on QOR, as they are going to be using it. It's going to be none other than Mr. Rival, and the basement is where we're going to be going first.
Attackers need to locate and defuse.
Yeah, we're going to see that castle not banned out this time. I actually want to talk about the thermite ban a little bit, because I think it's interesting. Like, it's something that, like, definitely does make sense in my eyes. I mean, he is, like, even after all this time, even after, like, 8 operators that do hard breach. He really has stood the test of time as kind of the siege hard breacher, and that's going to be especially true for sites like Gym Bedroom and CCTV. So getting rid of him is going to put a ton of pressure on SPACESHOOBS in this first half, and the Tuber Arcade being gone is going to alleviate a little bit of that, but it is going to necessitate a lot of Ace and Hibana and probably can openers as well, just being brought every single round.
At the very least, if we see that this Hibana gets taken out, there's a couple of extra hard breach charges that Mixer Siege is going to be using. He's going to take a smidge of damage, not enough to really leave a lasting impact, but regardless, he's got to be a little bit careful. One shot could render fatality, as a headshot means your life. I like this hold. I like having this hold in the stock and over by far. I actually never really seen this. Honestly, I like this. So we'll see. QOR doing a great job so far at holding down the fortress. Still only 45 seconds into the round. Not much has been done, but then again, it's only 45 seconds. I like how QOR is holding this. We'll see how they continue to hold it as the pressure begins to mount on them. It's going to be the first one to drop down. It's going to be Mr. Inrio, as they're going to have to worry about Mr. Vosper's on a BB, and it seems like this second or this main floor hold is going to be dismantled a slight bit, as there's a little bit too much pressure for the boys on QOR to handle right now.
Vocal is still going to try to go for a flank here, which doesn't seem like they have a great idea that he's here, so that could potentially not a powerful pick. But he's passed several people, 2 ships in the night, but he's taken up by Toaster instead. A beautiful opportunity ends up being floundered, and that's exactly what SPACESHOOBS need with the attacking woes they've been suffering from. There are still a lot of steps that need to be done, however, even if there is a good bit of time to do it, and each one of those steps is an opportunity for QOR to stick their foot out and cause SPACESHOOBS to trip.
Just over a minute remaining in the round so far. Unfortunately, Vocal's getting taken out, but everybody else on QOR seems to be doing just fine and dandy. SPACESHOOBS doing even better with that single man advantage, and they've basically taken the entire space of this main floor. As for everybody else, seems like everybody's back down into sight. Doesn't want to do too much, doesn't want to overextend and possibly lose another man as they're down one player. It seems like Tunnel might also be a little bit of an issue. It's going to be Vosper is going to be in there, but unfortunately these little fart canisters are going to kind of be thing to stop him from truly pursuing this tunnel any further. And with such little time remaining, it seems like he's just going to have to back out completely. Just running right past Moto, swinging him out. I can't believe that he really did get that kill. My goodness, being so low HP. A 3v2 will turn to a 2v2. Now Franklin's going to get taken down. It's going to be a 1v1 as Inrio is going to find most, but it's going to be Toaster left of them dropping the hatch. Just a hot drop. With 10 seconds remaining, Toaster's gonna need to find this kill because he does not have the bomb in hand. He's aware that he is gonna be in blue, but is he gonna be able to find out his kill? Unfortunately, no. Inrio with the Vector will do him dirty. Oh my goodness, what an intense first round for Club QOR. Defending that quite nicely, but couldn't be done without the help of Mr. Inrio. And so the first round is going to be secured for QOR.
We see there that, voice crack. We see there that QOR do fall off very quickly in that first round, but the idea there was that all of those roamers played, with the exception of Focal, played around the exit points from the top floor, so that when there was pressure mounting from SPACESHOOBS, they could easily fall back into the site without losing any bodies. And then that was coupled, I think, with the idea of Focal playing a deeper roam than the rest of them, so that after SPACESHOOBS pushed everyone else out, then Focal could get a kill, but the timings that he had just were never in his favor to do that, so he just kind of ends up getting killed off by Toaster. But even still, like I pointed out before the execute began, every step that SPACESHOOBS needed to do was another opportunity for QOR to throw a wrench into their gears and grind them to a halt. And slowly, we started seeing that happen, which also erodes the clock, which is then this whole other issue, yet again, of SPACESHOOBS coming down to the wire, which causes them to make very frantic decisions.
You have such like a diverse vocabulary. I love it. I think I just heard like 4 different words that I don't typically hear. I love it so much. I really do love it. I love the use of something about throwing a wrench and grinding the gears. Oh my god, Allie, I can't. You literally open up my vocabulary. I love it so much. But anyway, I'm sorry I just had to say that. I'm fascinating the way that you explain things. It honestly really grabs my attention. But anyways, a C4 launch. Volsper to get taken out from above like a bomb dropping. He just leveled him out. Volsper gone. That's the BB, the shield. Hey, still got another shield though, XG. The designated, my bad, almost said dedicated. The designated shield operator seems like he's even last game. He was, anybody was playing Monty, it was only XG. I don't think I saw nobody else playing that Monty. So, hey, he's the designated driver. He's driving the bus for Monty, regardless. Spaceship down 1 player, but regardless, XG making his way in quite nicely. Fortunately, it seems like a 3-piece. Well, 3 kills in favor of the boys on core, and that's a flawless. A second round, I didn't even really get to get my thought out. I was talking so much about a Monty, and we just saw 3 kills coming out, and then another 2 to close out round 2 on SPACESHOOBS map pick. I will say one thing, Allie, and I say this all the time, especially if it is your map pick. And I'm going to sound a little bit rude. I don't mean this in a rude way, but you have a lot of nerve as a team to pick a map and not be able to perform. Mind you, it's only the first 2 rounds, but playing a map like Clubhouse, which you absolutely know that this is probably the most scrimmed, most played map right now in the comp map pool. You're going to get on a map like Clubhouse. You best believe that not only is your defense better than your opponent, but your offense is better than your opponent, because there's not a single team that doesn't play on this map. And I mean, that performance, the first round was really tight, but I will say that second round that we just saw left a bad taste in my mouth. And maybe it's just because QOR just ended up getting that first pick, and it just the pieces were, falling right in place for them. But I think that, especially picking a map like Club, you really have to show that you can set the pace, especially knowing that if it's your map pick, you will be on the offense first. That round left a really sour taste in it.
It was very clumsily executed from SPACESHOOBS, although I mean, they have 4 more chances to make it right, so we'll see if they're able to execute on any of those. We're seeing kind of what I predicted earlier, the combination of the ace along with those can openers, as I like to call them, the secondary hair breach charges. As there is a lot that needs to be opened up for this site, but it is possible to do it with just the combination of the ace and a couple can openers. Although what I'm worried about is, I mean, one, just the fact that SPACESHOOBS have been a little bit clumsy when trying to execute on things that are off-site as of late. But also just the fact that there is a ton of opportunity for them to completely run out of time. And that is something that QOR really seem to be trying to push for here. Well, Schmink picks that a little bit better. Toaster does as well. That's 2 picks that go completely uncontested so far. Well, now the ball is inside of QOR's courts to try to find one back.
Maybe I was a little bit too rude to SPACESHOOBS. Maybe it took them 2 rounds to really get locked in, and now we're here on round 3. They've got a 2-man advantage. I mean, this is CC and Cash, though. I think this is probably that tertiary site. It's, I guess, quite, well, I shouldn't say I guess, but it's the attack kind of sided site to push. So maybe that's why, maybe it's SPACESHOOBS' lucky day. Rival! Oh my goodness! He just did some cardio to get that kill, and it absolutely worked out in his favor. High risk, high reward, and making the score a little bit closer. A 3v4, still down a man, but at the very least it's not 2. And just under a minute remaining in this round, the boys on SPACESHOOBS are gonna have to start getting this execute down back, because QOR have been amazing at this kind of late game and just holding it down.
Run right into the site, though, but Rival's keeping things quite even for his team. There is still the Blackbeard inside of sight, which is going to give XG some room to try to plant that diffuser. as the last two defenders try to collapse on his position. And Focal wins his fight, and Rival wins his as well. It's a 3K for the rookie. And that gives Core their third round in a row.
Oh my, hey, that was close, but Core really good at, you know, showing that they are good at that late game. Those time crunches absolutely mean nothing to them. And mind you, is Core the team that hasn't really been together for that long? They've been like, they've had like 3 official games together.
I mean, it is effectively like just the Nightmare Core plus Franklin and Inrio, but they are the team
Compared
that
to
has the most
Shoobs?
new pieces out of these two.
Yeah, so compared to Shoobs, I guess they kind of, they've got a little less experience. Again, y'all had a 2-man advantage. I don't know, really, that round kind of just came to a bust. Maybe people are just in the wrong positions at the wrong time. That was good. They did end up getting that plant down. It was a post-plant situation, but unfortunately, it just didn't go out in their favor. And now they're down 3 rounds. It is offense, but Core have already secured themselves 3 rounds. I mean, that's good. You know, at the very least, if you're defending, especially if it's not on your map, you would like to leave it at the very least 3-3. You want to secure 3 rounds. Typically, I think the split would be something more 4-2, but a 3-3 is also something that happens quite often. But securing those 3 rounds already, the first 3 rounds nonetheless, Core have a lot of, you know, wiggle room. As for SPACESHOOBS, they don't at all. And it's a little bit disappointing considering they had a 2-man advantage that round. They were able to get the first 2 picks out. Here we're going to be seeing that top for this main 4 hold that I've really liked for Core. See if they're going to be able to hold it just as well as they did the previous round.
It's a different way than before, but Inrio does get out of dodge yet again, which leaves the rest of Core try to fight that first floor, which Rival does very effectively. And that is a lot of the vertical play that Core brought out completely nullified as the opener. Spiff gets one as well. And then he's just gonna get the hell out. No thank you, says to the rest of SPACESHOOBS, which now leaves them in a terrible position. Rival makes it even worse as Volsper and XGS 1 kill combined.
Oh god.
Have a mountain to climb.
Oh god, I'm not liking this. SPACESHOOBS, why did we pick... What is going on? Are you kidding me? A 5v2 right now. 3-man advantage for Core. They're sitting pretty. They don't gotta do nothing. A minute 20, they can burn. They can twiddle their thumbs for all they like as long as it gets them the round win. Not only that, but XP in a really bad position right now as he's gonna be super low. Hello? A 4v2 now. Gonna find 2 picks though, I can't lie. Despite being in a really bad position, well, he ends up closing it out, especially considering those Candelas did a lot of the work for him. Still though, it's in a lot of those shotgun shots. Will be able to get 2 picks. And actually, Volsper's gonna pick up another one under his belt. So a 5v2 to a 2v2 now. SPACESHOOBS doing quite nicely. Hey, thank you to XGS and Volsper for locking in a little bit. 45 seconds, mind you, XGS is going to be on that top floor of that kitchen. Looking up over the hatch, he's the one with the bomb. They know he's there. He just drops the hatch. He doesn't even notice. He knows more than likely that he's dropped it. I'm sure that the sound cue was there. And with Spiff being DPNO finished off now, XGS on a 3-piece. Volsper looking to isolate this Valk and get her a little bit scared. No way. I don't know why he continued to stop planting. Now, bomb isn't going to be in your hand at all, but regardless, Volsper cleaning out a 5v2. SPACESHOOBS are still in it, a rocky start. I guess if it's the last 2 to be alive, you want your team to win. Leave Volsper and XGS. They'll clean up the crumbs, the mess left behind, and they'll leave it spotless. That's not only going to be a round for them, but it's also going to be a little bit of a timeout to discuss what the next plan is for these remaining 2 offensive rounds that they have.
I think this makes sense to call a timeout here, is they did kind of get to learn a very valuable lesson for free. Actually, let me check in Wikipedia. There is a coach listed on SPACESHOOBS. That is DMC, so he's gonna have an opportunity to rally the troops a little bit. Well, it's kind of discussing that last round a little bit. Obviously, the opening kills that were acquired by QOR were excellent, especially the fact that they were able to secure them, I mean, essentially for free. They kill 2 people, they kill 3 people, and then they get out. But the tomfoolery inside of Blue that we witnessed with Siege killing 2 people on a sliver of HP, which we're actually seeing the replay of right now, is really what opened the door for SPACESHOOBS to get back into the round. Volsper as well plays his 1v1s absolutely perfectly, and it just allows SPACESHOOBS to wiggle their way in just enough that they cause problems that QOR aren't able to recover from.
That work. They're putting in that work. Like that. SPACESHOOBS, we need that passion, we need la pasión. Especially because it's a 3-1 on your map pick. I mean, they're still waiting to go on the defense, but I always have to say it, especially if you're picking a map like Club. I mean, every team knows this map. You're not special. You're not. And if you're going to play like this, you're just going to get pummeled. So I'm glad to see that last round, they absolutely turned over. It was amazing, and I'm happy to see it. I hope that these next rounds, now that they've kind of built on that momentum, they're going to kind of have that snowball effect and be able to bring that pressure and bring that passion to these next, their final, unless it goes OT as of right now, their final regulation offensive rounds.
So we're gonna see Siege, he's gonna repel up this hash here with the Amaru hook while the rest of his team is causing chaos elsewhere. And the idea is just gonna be go in, get that diffuser done very, very quickly, and then just thrive in the chaos.
Oh, we'll see the chaos ensue. The bomb is already gonna start to get planted, and seems like there's shots firing everywhere. 3v3 now. It's just one kill after another, after another, after another. The Sens blocking off a couple of lines of sight for the boys on a core. Not able to see that much stuff, at least with the walls up. Rival, also DBNO not finished just yet, but then again, Volsper is also going to... It's not going to be finished just yet, though. But you know who will be? Mr. Rival, a 2v3 now. It's going to be still shoot. Technically do have that man advantage, but he's kind of immobile right now, just slithering around on the floor like a snake. He will be able to get picked back up, and that's going to be great. But unfortunately, XG is going to have to bite the dust. He's going to have to pay the price for picking up his friend Volsper. Will get picked up, but XG is going to be the one to take the blame. A 2v2 now. At the very least, Volsper does have that bomb. There's still airtime left on the board. There's going to be just over a minute remaining in the round. So we'll see how SPACESHOOBS decide to execute this, moving together by these main stairs in this Logi. And we'll see, as for Focal and Inreal, they've got great HP compared to SPACESHOOBS, at least. At the very least, though, it is a game where a headshot means everything, but then again, such low HP, a body shot can cost these boys their life. Not only that, but it doesn't seem like QOR is actually going to be playing in sight at all. Both of them are going to be off-site. However, Valk is going to be over by Con. She might just loop around over by Logi, as there is going to be a little bit of a hole to jump. Closer was planting that bomb, is going to get off it now, and Schmink coming in to hopefully try and be a little bit of a shield for his friend, is unfortunately going to get DB. I know it's going to be up to Volsper in a 1v2. Is he trying to pick him up? I was going to say, no way. No way, Jose. That round 4 is going to clean up nicely. That execute was quite fast and furious, but QOR still securing it, and it's 4-1. They might just leave split at 5-1. And SPACESHOOBS, man, what are we doing?
Yeah, they did try to go for a very, very aggressive play there, but it took them a while to get it set up. So much so, I think that QOR kind of realized that there was something strange afoot. And so they lash out and get aggressive when SPACESHOOBS are in the process of setting up that aggressive attack. And then, I mean, obviously, right, we see the result of that. And SPACESHOOBS does temporarily get the man advantage, but QOR lash out again enough that they bring it right back. And the players that were left up in that situation were the ones with minimal HP. As even though Monty is, I mean, he's a mountain, that's what he's named for, he is still mortal, he can still bleed. And we see there that the last two core players, they just kind of rotate around and are this phantasm that SPACESHOOBS constantly have to be worried about because they're absolutely lethal with how little HP SPACESHOOBS had.
Yeah, and SPACESHOOBS, not a lot of wiggle room that they're going to be able to work with. Unfortunately, hey, if this goes 5-1, it's not going to be too good. Again, this is SPACESHOOBS met. Really, guys? Come on now. I told you, you're not special for picking Clubhouse. You got to pick this, and you got to make sure that you got something crazy up your sleeve. It's not just a map that you can just use basic fundamentals and hope to win, because, I mean, if it's coming down to fundamentals, then QOR are blowing right through you. That's just exactly what they're doing. They just play the game a little bit better. But anyways, I digress. I don't want to be a little bit too mean, but Spiff might find himself in a bad situation. There's going to be two people on his door, and actually going to get sandwiched a little bit like an ice cream sandwich. He's like the ice cream. And the two boys on SPACESHOOBS were the sandwiches to, boom, smash them together, and now he's dead. The ice cream sandwich is destroyed and all over the floor. It's everywhere. Anyways, a 4v5. 4 down the man, but I mean, we've seen them come back and advantages. He has a minute and a half remaining in the round. How they play this out.
It's also worth noting that Spiff, although he is a very good player, was on Castle, so the utility loss from that pick is not actually a ton. As really the important operators, utility-wise, are going to be that Azami and that Smoke, who are actually coincidentally the top frags of the lobby. But Franklin ain't too shabby either. He's going to get his first pick onto Toaster, which evens up that man count. And there's only about a minute left here as well for SPACESHOOBS to work things. And QOR still have really effective power positions that haven't been properly cleared.
Well, we'll see. I mean, this Raptors position is going to be absolutely great. This would have been a great time to bring a Monty. Monty's not bad. It would have been a great time to take him. But anyway, Volsper is going to find a Falkland rival in a bit of a tight spot. Jingy, however, is going to be DB&O, and maybe he's going to get picked up. Maybe he's not going to get picked up. He's going to be over by Garage, so doesn't seem like it would be that good of an idea. Rival, though, is actually even too scared to get up, or maybe he's just waiting for the perfect moment. Slithering his way in like a snake, sees Jingy and Schmink. Done and dusted. That's a two-piece from a man, the myth, the legend. Fortunately, he's going to get taken down by Mr. Volsper, but a three-piece actually come out for him. XG just going to take out Franklin, and the advantage is going back for the boys on SPACESHOOBS. However, with only 5 seconds remaining in the round, XG does have the bomb, but is he going to be able to get this plan down? It doesn't seem like he's going to be able to at all. He's going to go for that default area, but he's aware of it, and there you go. QOR. Amazing job at the defense. Nothing gets past these guys, and they're just waiting it out, letting the round play by itself. Amazing on that Raptors position from Rival. Getting those 2 picks was absolutely incredible. I mean, one of them was down, but regardless, it doesn't matter. He got the other one. Amazing job. Amazing defense. Shoobs, man. Still, they got that first pick, and then they just not working out for them, even with that advantage. Such little time remaining. Doesn't seem to be going his way, and now SPACESHOOBS on the defense. Let's hope that they can win a couple rounds, because it's not looking too bright. Their future's a little bit dark.
Well, we did see that the defense from SPACESHOOBS last map was quite excellent. Although it is going to have to be a little bit more than quite excellent if they want to progress through here. Because, I mean, not only are they down 1-5, but QOR just look poised this entire game. They're not faltering. They're not seeing SPACESHOOBS get a hole into the round and then immediately going and making mistakes trying to rectify that. They have their eye on the ball, and that is the sole focus they have here. And that is something that will translate beautifully to the attack if SPACESHOOBS don't have a good response.
Yeah, and I mean, I would hope that they have a good response. Like I said, it's their map pick. And I always circle back to this because I really, I can't believe that this is how badly they're getting dismantled on their own map pick. If it wasn't their map pick, sure, fine. I'll cut you a little bit of slack, but this is a map you willingly chose. Knowing that you would be on the offense first, and that offensive performance was not even lackluster. It was like, I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully their defense is going to be strong, considering that it is their map pick. And so maybe they're going to have something that's going to be crazy and, you know, absolutely table turning. But until I see it, I'm not really going to believe it. We'll see how that continues. Seems like there's a slight top floor hold, kind of. We're going to have Exige. You're not top floor, my bad. Yes, no top floor. We're going to have Exige along with, well, there was 3 players. Now Toaster's gonna get taken out, and so it's gonna be a floor. B5 still on that top floor, a little bit of the hold, and at least Fulsper be the one to even out the man count. It's gonna be Jingy. He's gonna be in the basement. He's gonna be chilling all alone. Never mind. He's not there no more.
You see Core try to collect another kill to preserve that man count, but they're also being quite cautious as they don't want to throw another body away since... I mean, Spaceships are losing, but they're still absolutely amazing gunners when they need to be. Although that is the top 2 floors of the map vacated, but Exige. He might be in the odd position needed to make this work, although he is on a sliver of HP now, and as soon as he tries to run away, or potentially get active, they could catch him, but no, they just completely leave him a hole. And he's gotten the man count in his team's favor and gotten back to the sites.
Now 35 seconds. He was able to get there quite safely, dropping down those hatches. But time continues to tick. Core not too shabby at that late game as well. Inreal is going to find one. It's going to be onto Volsper and already taking space. Vocal making his way down through that hallway. And now the walls are starting to crumble for SPACESHOOBS. Having that man advantage didn't mean squat nothing. Core showing that it doesn't matter if you're down a man, if you're down 2 man, they bring it back and they do it nicely. SPACESHOOBS, what is happening? This is now match point. This needs to be 5 flawless rounds, and I'm not sure if SPACESHOOBS have what it takes to win these 5 rounds in a row, considering these last 7 rounds that we've seen. I mean, Core did it last game. Those 5 rounds in a row went beautiful, but it's not looking too good for SPACESHOOBS, especially because of the fact that even with man advantages, SPACESHOOBS getting the first pick, it often doesn't even lead to having the round win. Typically, they'll end up getting the first pick and then just lose the round. It's almost like it's in vain. The first pick means absolutely nothing.
I mean, SPACESHIPs have really been struggling, and that last round in particular was quite strange, as Exige does get them the man advantage, then get away scot-free. But then we see several players on Shoobs just individually position themselves quite poorly, which just gives the opportunity over to Core to just collect those picks one after the other. Well, that being said, that was that round, and this is this round. As now Core are 1 round away from taking this series 2-0, and from doing it by winning their opponent's map pick almost flawlessly. So now they have to attack Gym and Bedroom to make that work. Although, given the quick start thus far, I'd imagine they have a plan for that.
I'm a little bit disappointed in SPACESHOOBS. They did a great job last map too. This map, maybe after the loss of last game, it kind of messed up with them a little bit, but that's no excuse. Regardless, a little bit of a bandit trick coming in, getting rid of those aces, so at the very least your walls aren't going to be completely opened up. However, Marvelas still made his way in through CC nonetheless, pushing his way in through Cash. Gotta be careful! Unfortunately, Exige is gonna fall at the hands of Rival. He's gonna get unpunished as well. He's just gonna get away as if nothing happened. However, at the very least, Vocal does get taken out, so one pick does come out in favor of SPACESHOOBS. Still going to be a man disadvantage, however. And oh my god! You're back to the window. That is not going to spell anything good for you. At the very least, Franklin. Taken out by Jingy. Still SPACESHOOBS down. And they could still bring it back, but oh my goodness, there's just too much pressure coming in. It's going to be up to Toaster. In a 1v3, will be able to not even find one. Is this a pea shooter? My goodness! How many shots is it going to take? It doesn't matter. Shot after shot after shot. You would have thought he would have gotten drunk, but no, he didn't. He didn't even die. Didn't. It's first. And QOR will close that out quite nicely. That is
Yeah, just given the fact that this was, I mean, effectively like a game that you'd see in like Challenger Series or Elements, with these both being T2 squads, I really would like expect this to be, if not a series that goes the distance in maps, one where each individual map is a fight back and forth between these two teams. But I mean, it just it ends up being quite poor, honestly. I do want to say, I do think a lot of that was more on QOR playing very well than SPACESHOOBS being bad, because QOR did have some faults, especially on that first map. But they were very, very proficient at just finding the weaknesses in SPACESHOOBS' game plan and then exploiting it as much as they could, especially once they got to the defense on Cafe. They found the winner, and they just kind of kept doing that throughout the second map, and SPACESHOOBS never really had the answer to what they needed to do.
They weren't able to adapt. And like we said, SPACESHOOBS had an amazing first map. I mean, they did lose it 5 rounds in a row. They let slip between their fingers, and it's disappointing because map 1 should have been their win. Honestly, it should have been. This Clubhouse, absolutely, QOR won it fair and square, and I believe that they did an amazing job, and they just simply outplayed SPACESHOOBS. Map 1 should have been SPACESHOOBS' win, and I'm not really sure what the situation was on how they end up kind of just completely tanking over the the last drop of that map. But I guess that losing streak, not to be rude about it, but that losing streak kind of carried into and kind of dripped into map 2, and it's disappointing. Like I said, it's your map pick, and I mean, you don't always have to win your map pick, but at the very least, if it's going to be Clubhouse, like I said, you're not special for picking Clubhouse. Every team plays Clubhouse. This is the most played map. You got to have something that really sets you apart, or you genuinely have to believe that you are mechanically better at the game than your teammates, fundamentally better, mechanically better, chemistry-wise, you're better. And I just feel like losing that map 7-1 doesn't really like reflect that you have the fundamental skills and the technical skills and the chemistry to overcome your opponent, because that was disappointing from them. And I would have loved to have seen this go map 3, because both of these teams are amazing. That map 1 was incredible. Kudos to QOR for pulling through, and kudos to them also for pulling through map 2 with with basically ease, with essentially just ease. But unfortunately, SPACESHOOBS are they fall flat today.
It is quite unfortunate for all the Shoobers out there, but it does sometimes happen. You're going to see us for a little bit as we wrap up tonight. And it's like we're going to take a look at the standings, although I'd imagine that our producer Andrew is doing some finessing of the graphic just to make sure that everything is accurate. As I believe there was a score counter on screen earlier that wasn't accurate, so he does have to atone for his sins a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, we have to yap for a second. And to be honest, I didn't have much prepared. I kind of said what I had to say during the game, to be honest, although I guess it is interesting, actually, that we do... Oh, there we go. So
There we
Cornell,
go.
they're at the top of their Division 1 overtime. I don't know how it works with best of threes, but they have 2 wins, regardless, plus 12 on that round count. Absolutely phenomenal from them, with SPACESHOOBS now falling to -1 in their round count. And then we see Carnage Basketball himself leading the TPL division of this tournament, with teams like Turtle Tactics and Jinxie Loyals looking to step up, make things a little bit closer.
I like that name. No, Mama's Way. I wonder if their team is if they're all Mexican, because I have all my Mexican friends that say, "Oh, Mama's Way, a la verga way." Hopefully that's not. I hope I'm not saying some brutally horrible cuss word, but I like that name. Anyways, well,
It's also worth pointing out, our producer just told me for the standings that Outlast vs. Jinxie Loyals is happening over on the TPL stream, so that's also going to affect how the standings work out. They're going into map 3 right now, actually, so it's the one that you should absolutely go and watch. And speaking of watching, the next Playday is going to be tomorrow, I'd imagine at the same time, so
on
I
Sunday.
want to take a little bit of a break from the Siege X that'll be going on tomorrow. So it'll start at 6 EST tomorrow. So after all that action inside of Rainbow Six Reload ends, come catch some finale, and we'll see one of the last G3 events that's going to take place inside of Rainbow Six Siege before we go over to Siege X.
Ooh, sounds interesting. I'm surprised. The hockey game is tomorrow as well. Ali, you watching any hockey?
On occasion.
We got the Panthers versus the Leafs, right? It's the game 7. Oh my goodness, I would be a little bit sad if I had to guess, because that game is going to be good. So if you're not watching the cast, maybe they're watching the hockey game. But anyways, that's for tomorrow. As for today, thank you guys for being here for this BO3. Congratulations to QOR for being absolutely incredible at the game and doing an amazing job. As for the boys on Shoobs, a great effort. Unfortunately, it wouldn't be great enough, as, well, you leave tonight with 1 more loss under your belt. But hey, there's still more opportunities to win, right? I hope so. Anyways, on behalf of the production, the producers, everybody at XGS, and as well as Ali and I, and all the previous casters that I casted the 2 BO3s previously, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys were here for those first 2 games, thank you. If you're only here for this last game, well, thank you so much for being here with Mr. Ali and I. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream and the cast as much as we did. That was very exciting, and well, maybe we'll be seeing some of you guys tomorrow for the games that are happening then. But regardless, have a great rest of your Saturday. If you guys are working like Mr. Ali, well, have a great day at work tomorrow. If you're not, enjoy the weekend and enjoy the games. And maybe you're watching the hockey game, or hey, basketball playoffs are going off as well. So if you guys are watching basketball, then maybe you're watching basketball. But anyways, have a great rest of your week, guys, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.